Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be carrying on with Citizen Sleeper. I'm still so much enjoying this game. This is, I think, probably about the 7th or 8th episode that I filmed in a row. Not all on the same day, but I'd saved up other videos of other games, but for the last couple of days I've just been filming Citizen Sleeper just because I'm really into it and looking forward to seeing where it goes. So we've got a couple of timers have just come available, so we're going to go and talk to Rabiah first. As you enter Rabiah's office, you hear voices. Is that Sabine? You push open the door. Sleeper, what good timing. Rabiah calls out as you enter. I wanted to introduce you to someone. The man is standing at the centre of the room, speaking quietly with Rabiah. He turns as you come in. Meet Yannick.
Sleeper, he nods. Been hearing good things from Rabiah.
He smiles an easy smile. Good to meet you.
Likewise, likewise.
He waves a ringed hand.
Now, Rabiah, where were we?
Actually, Rabiah places a hand on your shoulder. The sleeper was what I wanted to talk to you about. She doesn't spare you a look. What's going on?
Well, okay then.
Yannick tucks his hands into his pockets.
Go on.
I'd like to recommend them to your ward. A tiny pause. They have shown themselves to be a capable ally here on the spoke side, but we have more than enough to run our territories. I hear the main block is proving more difficult. Yannick leans forward slowly.
It's a mess, Rabiah.
He waits, his tinted glasses shimmering despite the lack of light in the unit.
I can use them,
he suddenly decides. Rabiah smiles. Good to hear. I can immediately. Yannick cuts her off with a raised hand.
1 second.
He steps one surprisingly light step closer to you.
You eager to work, Sleeper?
What kind of work?
A question.
Yannick lowers his head and raises it again, as if he dropped something.
Nothing new for you,
he answers. Not quite looking at you. You don't follow. What is he saying?
That concludes it,
Yannick pronounces.
Sleeper can come work in the ward anytime they like.
You shoot Rabiah a confused look. Rabiah finally glances at you for a moment, but it is so fast you almost miss it. Good. I know you'll be happy with their work, Jan. Yannick reaches out and squeezes her shoulder.
Sure, Rabiah, he says. Now, please, he says, turning to face you. Let us old friends get back to it.
He guides Rabiah away, leaving you standing alone. You look to Rabiah, but she is deep in conversation, and so, stunned and confused, you leave. Oh, new drive, what's that? Expose Yannick, gotta gain his trust. Yannick's ward. Control the block. It's an engage. I mean, you're going to get a positive result. This is dangerous. It doesn't say what would happen if we fail. All the same. We will do that. There's no overriding time limit on that. So what I want to do is I want to go and get the spores for Tala. I didn't actually look at how many she needs. I'm going to assume it's about 3. If we get a couple of successes and get 4, then... actually, let's use our 4. That might be enough. Or maybe we should... We can always come back. Four should be enough, right? We can go and talk to Helen. Oh no, there's one more on that. That's fine. Yeah, so let's go give these spores, and we'll see what we have to do after that. If we have to wait any time for stuff to happen, then we'll go and use these dice on the Yannick's ward timer. She only needs 1. She only need 1! Alright. She might need more. Oh no, I think she's going to need 3, because it's going to add to this clock, isn't it? Yeah, that's okay. We'll have 1 extra, but then we, you know, you get 2 a time. It wasn't like we wasted anything. Oh, they're so cute, says Tala, looking at the container of spores. Her excitement is infectious. Okay, looks like we've got to wait a bit. First batch, so we've got to wait 6 cycles and then that'll be ready. So I think what I'll do is use these in Yannick's ward and advance this a little bit. Pretty good. I'll re-roll that too, I expect. Got a good chance of doing better. 3. Well, that might be alright. Neutral outcome. Well, we lost some energy, but we still gained 2 trust, so another couple of successes there will be enough. Maybe we'll go eat at Minji's. We can't just pay them, so we'll go to Memphis instead. That'll do. There we go, rest. Now we'll feed the cat. Doing quite well with money. Now we'll top up our condition. And hope for some good rolls. As we always do. Not too bad. Could be better. The eye. Ooh, what's this? It hits you like a wave, a white-edged breaker roaring inland with the force of the entire ocean. The impact is a screaming brightness, blanking out everything. Behind it is silence. You float in silence, suspended. No, you don't float. You are the silence. It has filled you up. It has emptied you out. You cease to exist. Time passes, though you do not feel it passing. Then something flickers in the silence. And then something moves. That something is you. You open your eyes to a metal ceiling of flickering lights. You feel the floor around you, patting it with shaking hands. You assemble an image of yourself lying on your back in a corridor. You shake off the silence and sit up. What was that? You glance around, looking for a sign of some change. Damage on the walls, shouts in the distance, fire and fear. Nothing has changed. The silence sits around you like fog. You try to think, furrowing your brow. How do you think again? It doesn't always seem so easy anymore. You force the pathways to light up, the databanks to grant access. You feel like a fraction drive starting up after a long shutdown in cold vacuum. In the wave was noise, just as the sound produced by a wave raking across a pebble beach represents trillions of impacts heard as a single roar. So this sound was the result of trillions of electrons flickering in place heard as a single, impossible scream. A memory/image comes to you, one from the moments before the wave hit. You squint as you imagine it, trying to cohere its blurry form. A broken skeletal ring, the eye, and then a vast arc approaching it, razor-edged white curve, the wave. The wave approaches the eye. The eye spins, turning each part to face that vast white edge. You recognize their skeletal data cloud forms, the bright market, the low end, the greenway, the wastes. Then, the wave hits. Just as the flotilla, the cordon turns to face it, and after that, everything is silence. You open your eyes again. That is the epicenter. But of what? Ooh. Stuff is occurring. Okay, well, let's finish off Yannick's ward. Need a couple of successes. We'll try our 4. Might try the 3 as well, honestly. Save the 6. Neutral, we lose energy. Let's fill up at Emphasis Place before we do the next one, so I'm going to use the 3. Save my 6. I wonder, is the scrap ship? No, I was thinking maybe I would go and get the scrap after all, because we use it for our condition, but it's not urgent. Alright, let's try this. Positive outcome. Yay! Got energy. Continue. You almost laugh when you see it. The same small recorder stuck to a different wall this time. Written across the fluorescent tape is that familiar word, sleeper. You grab it quickly. Rabiah says sorry. Sabine's voice sparks up once again. She said she didn't have time to brief you before setting you up with the old man. I'm sure you've got the play by now. Earn his trust, work the block. Then we need you to get into his office. A pause. It's risky, but obviously you're the only one of us he doesn't already know. Either way, we need you to locate the link to SNARP. You hear a shout in the background of the recording. Rabiah says, be careful. Sabine continues. The data suggests there's some relay processing the implant data and sending it to SNARP, but we can't lock down its position. Either he's moving it, or it's moving itself, or it is rerouting through other relays, but we can't understand it. Maybe you can find some details on it in his office. Once he trusts you, you should be able to get close enough to get into the office. You'll only get one shot. The recording creaks and whines. That's the final piece of the puzzle to end this. A pause. Good luck, Sleeper. I'm sorry too. Be safe. The recording clicks off, leaving you in silence. You pocket the recorder just in case and walk away. Looks like it is up to you. I'm reading that as if it's not possible to fail. I'm a bit nervous. I think it was like a crucial one. I'm gonna input the 6, even though that would probably be okay if what I'm seeing here is correct. Let's do that. You spot the countermeasure on the drawer moments before you touch it. This has to be it, but you can't rush it. You look at the countermeasure on the drawer. It looks like some kind of shock trap. If you'd grab the drawer, you'd likely have thousands of volts running through your system right now. You wince. Once you find the anchor points, it comes away easily enough. You prise it from the drawer quickly and quietly, then listen for footsteps in the corridor outside. Nothing. All clear for now. You slide the drawer open, looking for other countermeasures that might be inside, expecting to see a chunk of tech, the relay. But as you slip it open, all you see is a handful of wires and an empty implant cradle. Is this some kind of mistake? You freeze for a moment, unsure what to do next. Why keep an implant cradle so carefully guarded? You remember Yannick having an implant, a small plate on the side of his head, just above his ear. You assumed it was for hearing or vision. Those shimmering glasses of his come back to you in your memory. His strange movements, his speech. You look again at the cradle and there it is, printed on the frame. Proprietary technology, property of SNARP. Rabiah said the relay moved, that they couldn't get a fix on it. What if Yannick was the relay? The thought hits you like a shock. Yannick, with a remote relay implanted in his head, networked to every single implanted enforcer in the low end. A shudder runs through you. Is he even in control? Or has SNARP wormed its way into the man? Could he even be considered separate from the corporation itself? You think of your own legal status as proprietary technology, a puppet with cut strings. Time to cut Yannick's strings then. You reach around inside the cradle and find it, a remote connection, a tiny bead of a transmitter, likely controlling the link to SNARP. There it is. You pause for a moment, then you squeeze it, snap it from the frame, and it crumples, sparks, and dies. It takes a moment before the shouts come, before the scream, and you're already on your way out down the corridor, down through the unit that serves as the lobby to Yannick's office. Then out, onto the walkway where Yannick lies still, enforcers gathered around him, bemused. We can approach. You push through the crowd, and there he is, still crumpled. You arrange him a little, lie him down properly, feeling how thin his body is under his suit. You wonder how long he's been like this, a puppet for SNARP. With the connection cut, nothing remains but his body, which means that Yannick, the man, was gone for a long time before now. You place a hand on his chest. You are sorry for him, but it is done now. And you did not kill this man. You've seen enough. The connection is cut, and whatever Yannick was or had become is gone. Your anger is a hard core in your chest, and all of it is focused on SNARP. Stop the signal. The aftermath. The low end is wild with stories about Yannick's death. You are still waiting for Rabiah to get in touch, but you trust that she will. So we need 4 cycles for that to kind of continue. We probably need another 4 or 5 for the bar. 5, I think that is. I'm going to re-roll those dice. 6 and a 4, pretty good. But I think we're probably going to cross the greenway and go and talk to Helen. I think that was what our vision was, telling us that the next stage of that's ready. Even before you reach the cordon, the damage is obvious. The blinking red lights, the drones, the tugs, all are gone. Half the cordon's frame has also been shorn away, perhaps through the impact of some failing ship. People push past you in the corridor, both Havenage staff and contractors, clearing the cordon. Let's push forward. You push through the flow of people, and despite a few suspicious looks, they offer no resistance. The further you pass into the cordon, the less people you see. You can see a few sections have been closed off, their bulkhead doors sealed and red warning lights punctuating the corridors, but otherwise most areas seem functional. Suddenly you feel a hand fall on your shoulder. Havenage security? You should have known better than to wander into this place. You brace yourself as you turn. Sleeper! Peake's wild eyes greet you as you turn. The cordon! They glance around, panicked. It's gone down! The Briar and Esh are still in there. Do you think she did this? Or perhaps Havenage messed up? They start pulling you towards the edge of the cordon. We should find her. What if, It wasn't her or Havenage. Peake stops. What are you saying? Something hit the station. Peake looks incredulous. Hit? Sleeper, we'd all be dead if that was the case. They pause to think. Oh, maybe not an object, but a shockwave? A signal? An EMP would have taken out most of the station, but... Peake runs a hand through their hair. I don't know what you're saying, Sleeper. That doesn't sound... They look away down the corridor for a moment. Look, I have to find Ish. I'm sure you felt something, but we can talk about that later. They set off down the corridor. I can't sit around talking any longer. Find me on the flotilla. I'm going to find a way to Ish, no matter what. And with that, they rush away into the depths of the cordon, leaving you behind. Seems like you'll need to follow if you want to get any answers. Scrap for passage. So we can input 2 scrap to get over. I think we'll do that now. We've got scrap to spare. Here we go. Now here we are on the flotilla. Ooh, there's quite a lot to it. So what have we got to achieve here? Flotilla's friend. It's 8-segment clock. Shifting ships, systems and social structures. The only way to navigate the flotilla is by rolling up your sleeves and helping out. So we've got 2 lines of things to do. Interface here, which we're obviously more skilled in than endure. So positive is a +2 to that, so minimum 4 dice. Hopefully we won't get a negative reaction. So I mean we can fill half the clock now. But I think I'm actually going to do that in a little while. There's no burning need to do that right now. What I kind of want to do is finish harvesting these mushrooms, hopefully get a couple of club heads. Need to germinate. Let's get some more spores then going, because I'd like to have more stabilizer available at some point. So let's get these going. Right, that's the 3 we need. I should have used the 4 really. I thought I'd use both dice, but actually I didn't in the end. Let's get these growing. Okay, now this is what I'm going to suggest next. It's going to seem a little bit crazy, but just bear with me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to prioritise working on the sidereal horizon. And I know it's going to take a lot of dice to do that. But I kind of want to finish up the kind of base... Hang on. What Apologies for the dog. Yeah, what I want to keep working on is the base storylines and maybe finish all those, and then we'll move into these sort of DLC chapters. We're on the second one now. That's the last one that's been released. There is going to be a third one in Q1 2023, which is where we are at the moment. So I need to look up when that's being released, because I would like to kind of lead straight from that into the next one. So it's possible we might have to sort of shelve this series until that's released, but we'll take it as far as we can. Basically, I want to see everything I can possibly see in this game before calling it a day on the series, and I hope that's okay. So the upshot being, still got a bit of time on that. Yes, I'm going to put this 4 into the sidereal horizon. And this is interface, so that's, going to be a positive one, but I think it's only 1 chunk still. No, it's actually 2 for a positive outcome. Well, that's good. So that's not going to... If we can sort of feed 4, 5s and 6s into that, that should fill up... I was going to say relatively quickly, but quicker at least. So I think we go rest. So it might not be the most gripping episode, but I'll keep working on this, and then in a few cycles the other stuff will sort of come to a head as well, with the Rabiah and Tala. So we'll spend a few cycles doing this, and then we'll carry on with those, and then when those are done we'll work on the cordon stuff and the refugees flotilla. Not too bad, we can re-roll the ones. Still working on those, so yeah, let's input some of these. Because it's been quite some time, and I don't think Lemon Mina's storyline is going to finish until we've done this, and I do want to help them, which I didn't manage last time. Let's re-roll these. Pretty good. 2. It will become a 4 in here. Well, maybe we'll give it a go. Hopefully it won't be negative, but neutral. Okay, so we only got a +1, but that's fine because it's halfway around the clock now. So actually, it won't take us that long. 1, 2, 3, like 6 more 4, 5s and 6s, and that'll be finished. So that's not too bad, actually. Can we buy rations here anymore? I don't think we can, because they got crushed. That's alright. We'll go and eat at Emphasis Place. Oh, I've got so much money. Keep the scrap topping us up. Feed the cat. At some point that might lead into something else. I guess we'll find out. Sip of coffee. Well, that's not perfect, honestly, but I think it's okay. Start with a 6, obviously. So these will be 5s, so there's a 50% chance of a neutral outcome, which is only 1, like that. But it's better than nothing. That was a positive one. Another neutral one. So we're 3/4 of the way through, so we need 3 more good dice. Let's roll this, we might get one now. 6, that works. Nice. 525. It's insane. Right, we're going to do one more rest. Get that finished off. Feed le chat. Bit of scrap to keep us topped up. Three good dice. Nope. We're going to re-roll those 2s. So at least, hopefully at least a couple of them will be better than 2. Let's eat at Emphas first, his place. to remind myself how many upgrade points I've got currently. 0. Okay. I think we can do all of those drives, so we should get another level. Boom, one more positive, so come on. Oh, that couldn't have gone better. Nice, we're done. I thought that was going to take ages. Your crew slowly filters out of the shipyard locker room, the bubbling chatter reducing with each group that leaves. There is excitement in the air. Havenage just made an announcement. The assembly teams are done. Sat on the locker room bench, you can feel the sidereal out there, its hulking mass now intimately familiar to you. Over the past cycles, you've watched it grow, be assembled. You have walked through its veins and welded its bones. Now it is ready for the final stage. It will go to testing now, then enter a final process of sealing and resealing, checking and rechecking before it is deemed suitable for its generational trip. But for now, your work is done. You can't help but feel proud. A cough interrupts your work. It's Lem, changing out of his worker gear, Mina nowhere to be seen. He smiles. Ah, she'll be ready soon. I know. It's exciting, although if you think about it, we are all out of a job now. He quickly adds, not that I'm complaining. He comes to sit beside you on the bench. She's got to be in her best shape when she carries you, Mina, and me out of here. So confident? Lem smiles apologetically. Why not? I figure I'm due a lucky turn by now. He rubs his hands nervously. No use in wondering what if, until the draw anyway, and there's a few cycles till then. Lem is right, but the odds seem unlikely anyway. How many are working in the shipyard? Hundreds? 1,000? You've certainly seen more faces than you can count pass through. And are the Kellis Foundation even going to keep their promise? Out here on the Eye, you get the sense that no one will hold them to it. Why else would they be building the sidereal in a surrogate system? As you think, Lem watches you with a worried look. How's Mina doing? Lem is surprised by the question, but smiles. Oh, she's doing well. She misses having you over, actually. I need to get you two together again soon. Especially now I won't see you here either. Lem gazes into space. She's pretty stuck on you, actually. She told me the other cycle that she doesn't want to go unless you can come too. He sighs. Have you ever been in a thunderstorm, Sleeper? A real big one? I don't remember. Lem shoots you a worried look for a moment. Oh, it's something else. He smiles. The sound, the smell, the rain hammering down. That's what I've got here at the moment, actually. The whole sky stretched out and bruised, echoing and huge. The place I was born, New Pembroke, a dry old rock in a Conway system, had 2 seasons. One of them was as dry as a bone, dusty, ugly. The other one was one long storm, a side effect of the terraforming efforts, they said. Rain used to rattle off the roofs like bullets. It washed the dust away, turned the streets to rivers. It'd sing us to sleep and wake us in the morning. We'd wait half a year just to see it again. The best day was the one where the first drops fell. He sniffs. Some days I wake up swearing I can hear it again. I was thinking, Mina has never seen a storm, never even felt rain. She's grown up here, the ring her only horizon, always in the dark. I want to change that for her. You will. Of course, almost there. Lem stands, stretching. Best get back to the little one anyway. With the shifts done, I reckon she'll be happy to have me home for a few cycles. He shoulders his gear. See you in a few for the draw? I'll be there. Right on. He grins. Lem leaves, making you the last person in the cavernous locker room. As you sit, you think about rain, and a little hope creeps in. Is it possible? Could the sidereal really take you to a planet? A place with weather, with skies, with life? You get up quickly before you can think about it anymore. It's too soon to hope, too dangerous. There's work to be done. So we've got to wait, looks like 6 cycles for this to progress. Kalis are apparently going to start moving the sidereal horizon to the hub soon. There's a timer at the shipyard as well. Havanage have said it'll be a few cycles until the winners of the draw are announced. You'll have to come back then. Okay, so we've got 3 more cycles till that progresses. A couple more for the bar. 1 more for Rabiah's office. So I think maybe we'll go and put these dice into the flotilla stuff I've got to do. Another one for the mushrooms. Seems like a good use of a couple of 6s. So let's, I mean, we could put them into either, honestly. Doesn't really matter, does it? I'll put them into interface, because interface can give us credits. Oops, no, I left. That's not what I wanted to do. Can't re-roll the 1, I've already done that once, so I think what I'll do... Maybe we'll use it at the commune, top up the energy just a little bit. And we'll rest. Starting to run out of scrap, but I like keeping myself topped up while I can. Oh, complete active scenes. What's active then? Unless there was one on the flotilla, maybe? Oh, there is. Peak. As you walk into the bay of the climbing Briar, the familiarity of the space overcomes any trepidation. It feels good to be back, and the return feels earned, especially after all the work it took to figure out a route through the flotilla's jumble of ships that might lead you to this blue streak. You see Esh and Peak immediately, sitting at the back of the bay, deep in conversation. Their closeness causes you to stop, suddenly aware that you might be interrupting something private. Peak is gesturing wildly as Esh stares out into the middle distance, hunched over. As Peak tries to get her attention, she spots you. Sleeper? Esh nods. Didn't quite turn out like we hoped, right? Peak stops and glances between the two of you, the tension rising. The plan was always risky. For me more than you? Esh shakes her head. Maybe if you spent less time trying to question it, things would have gone better. Peak looks nervous. It has worked out. They appeal to you. The flux event knocked the entire cordon system offline. The flotilla is free, and Havanage are backing off. Flux event? Yeah, that's what the refugees are calling it, Peak explains. Apparently that's what they called it when it started happening around Ember. What exactly is happening? Hard to tell. It's some kind of disruptive wave that only affects electrical systems. Peak chips in. Typically systems are screened against radiation and interference out here anyway, but this seems to be dulled, but not stopped by those defences. The crisis continues, Esh sighs. The cordon may be down, but this brings a whole other set of problems. Ah, you should tell him, Esh. Pete glances at her. Please? Esh doesn't respond. Tell you what? You stare at her back, waiting for a response. Please, Esh, haven't they shown they can be trusted? Pete nods towards you. Esh turns, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She goes to start and then stops. You can see the anger in her eyes, but you realise it's not directed at you, or at anyone else. She's angry with herself. I brought weapons to the flotilla, she pauses, and now they're gone. What do you mean gone? What do you think? Esh snaps. Someone lifted them from the ship's bay while I was unloading the supplies. She sniffs. At least they're in the hands of the flotilla now. Pete looks at you. She knows this was a bad move, Sleep, I promise you. That says he, but we know Peak is a they-them. They glance back at her. She's just too proud to admit it. So what now? Peak looks at Esh. She finds them and she gets them back. Shouldn't we help? Esh turns. It's okay. It's okay, Sleeper. I don't want anyone getting mixed up in this. This is my responsibility. She looks away. Plus, Peak adds, you and I have to work to do. I want to understand the flux, Sleeper, to study it. Peak's eyes light up. This thing is changing the entire system, causing problems across the inner system, driving refugees off Ember's moons, and now it's here. If we don't do something about it... Peak pauses. Oh, it's a problem for all of us. I can see more immediate problems, Esh sniffs. Peak ignores her. I've been looking at the networks, and when the flux event hit, it changed things. It shuffled systems, corrupted nodes, and broke open data stores. They take out a slate and show you a flickering polygon. Some of these flux nodes have appeared near the epicenter of the event, but I can't get access. You, however, I saw the way you worked with data when we were preparing for the run. Yeah, I think you can get into these things. I want you to find a flux node and bring me anything you can extract. They come and go, but most can be found in the barely functioning networks of the wastes. Peak pauses. Start there. Perhaps together we can find something that might point to what the flux is. what the flux it is and where it comes from. Okay, they smile. I knew you'd agree. Esh looks indignant. Don't waste too much time chasing Ghost Sleeper. There are people on this flotilla that need any help they can get. I'm sure Sleeper can do both, Esh. Peak smiles at you. I'll see you here when you have something. Good hunting. And they wave you out as Esh stomps away and to make plans of her own. New drive. Study the flux. Okay, so we were still working on the flotilla thing, weren't we? We're only half done with that clock, so that's something to continue with. Then we have the climbing Rabiah. We have to input flux data, so I assume that's a network thing, right? They did say in the waste. Fluxed node. So a 4, 5, or a 6 for that. Is that the only one? I think it is. Okay, so a 4, a 5, or a 6. But like I said, we're going to park that really for now until I've dealt with the other stuff. Okay, I don't need to use more scrap. We can end the cycle. There's no sort of massive time limit on that like there was for the refugee runs. So that's good. We can kind of just maybe put spare dice into it if we're kind of waiting on other timers like I just did. Otherwise we're going to concentrate on the other stuff. Ooh, we got Rabiah. Even before you enter the office you can hear the sound of Rabiah working the heavy bag. She is hammering it, the chain creaking as it shakes with each hit. She's been like this since... Sabine doesn't finish the sentence. They are sitting on a stool looking at the terminal in the corner, searching through the SNARP data you pulled all those cycles ago. How have you been? I'm well, Sleeper. Happy to no longer be hunted. They smile. Yatagan has plenty to deal with, and without Yannick, I'm free. They glance nervously at Rabiah. Rabiah stops punching, and in the silence you can hear her breathing hard. Sabine looks over at her, and you sense something between them. You realise you haven't seen them together since they tried to kill each other in the same unit. A lot has changed since then. They hooked him up like a puppet. Rabiah hits the bag. Rigged that thing in his head so they could control him. Push the old Yannick out. I don't know why you let them in. Rabiah throws a few more punches. But it's a lesson. Don't let them in. Another flurry. Yatagan shouldn't deal with corporations. And we never will again. She spits. She comes away from the bag. At least Yannick's death has been treated as natural. There's a chance we can come back from this, that Yatagan can hold on. But there are opportunists trying to take control. Sabine turns to you. Yes, but now the connection has been broken. I've been looking at removing the trackers from the implants in Yatagan's enforcers. It's a significant job, but I think with time I can do the surgeries. Rabiah walks away from the bag towards the far side of the unit. Those surgeries will never happen if Yatagan collapses. She shouts back at Sabine. Clearly this is a well-worn argument in this unit. Will Yatagan really collapse? I don't think so, no. Rabiah doesn't either. They look over at her, at least not when she's calm. What I understand now is Yatagan can be something if we want it to be. Coming here from SNARP, or from the core worlds, all I saw was a gang, and with Yannick keeping me on a tight leash. They shudder. Rabiah believes, and I want that belief. They look unsure. I also want to be done with SNR, but I doubt they're done with me. They glance away, rubbing their shoulders. We don't need to know about their personal situation. I hope you're right. Me too, they smile. I've been wanting to say, Sabine begins nervously, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you where I came from. I know I've apologised before, but I want to again. They pause, properly. When I leaked the data on the sleeper program, it was to try to help people, like you. They grit their teeth. But after all the cycles here, being pushed down, pushed around, trying to survive, all that got away from me. So when you turned up, they sigh, it shook me up. They run a hand through their hair, but I ended up here, so... They look at Rabiah. Oh, of course. They reach into a pocket and take out a handful of vials. These are the last of the case. You can have them. They drop them into your hands. After these last few, I don't know what we can do, with the S&ARP connection broken. They look down. But I know there are other ways. Repairs, other pharmaceuticals. I even heard there are some labs out on the Greenway. Perhaps they can help? They meet your eye. I'm sorry I can't do more. Thank you for everything. They look away, their eyes bright with tears. Rabiah crosses back to you both and sits beside Sabine. They look at each other, and you can't help but smile at the idea of them together. What are you two plotting? Rabiah grins. Sabine laughs, and the sound is a welcome one. You watch the two of them teasing each other and smile. Later, when you leave, you take that handful of vials out of your pocket and look at them. You can still feel that core of anger deep down inside, and you don't know if it will ever leave. But Essence Arp doesn't own you anymore. They can't, because this place, these people own you. They are what makes you get up every cycle. They are what keeps you breathing. You put the vials away and walk through the low end, your senses tuned to every sight, every smell and every sound, soaking it all in, living. Upgrade point. That's the one, isn't it? Yes, we got one. We have 3 vials of stabilizer, which is cool. We're still waiting on the scrap things back. Let's actually buy all the scrap up. Because, honestly, the money's fine, innit? Don't need to work for them. I'm just going to buy loads of scrap. Off. I was going to say a chance of getting ship mined, but not going to happen now. Yeah, so we're up to 4 scrap. That's fine. Kind of wanted the scrap anyway. Merchant freighter. I think I might buy a couple of ship mine fragments and just have a whole ship mined. You know, might come up that we need one. I don't even mind the price, to be honest. It's 100, but you know, we've got so much money now. We'll go to the Ort Exchange and get that turned into, or Ort Fabricator rather, and get these turned into a whole ship mined. There we go. So wait on the bar, we're waiting on the shipyard and the Sidereal Horizon. So actually we probably go back and do stuff for the flotilla, thinking about it. Actually the mushrooms can be harvested, so let's do this, because I would like to try and get some more club, although you know, that was for stabilizers. I've got 3 stabilizers now. That's another club head. There we go, that's the 3. I mean, we'll re-roll this. Alright, I might as well do this just so it's all used up. Got 4 club heads now. So let's just get some more stabilizer done. Oh, we only need 2. I thought we needed 3. Well, that's fine. We can get 2 more stabilizers now. That might even see us all the way through to the end of the game now, depending on how far off we are. Because what I'll do is I'll allow it to drop down to sort of there, then I'll use stabilizers. So we've got 6, 7, 8. So it's 5 times. There's 40 cycles worth of stabilizer now, which isn't too bad. Not too bad. Oh, we were going to. Yeah, we got the data thing here to do, haven't we? So let's do that, because I need a 5 for that. Are there any more? Or is that all we need to do? I think that's it. Sleeper, come look at this! Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite they've set up in the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways, like an ingrown root ball, has started to untangle. This is an existing node corrupted by the flux event. It's tightly twisted up. They glance at you to check you're listening. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces, like shadows staying behind despite their caster leaving, is a whole other data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screenlight. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps in the node, wrapping them around it. I don't get it. Peak looks crestfallen. Think of it like resin poured over an object, filling all its gaps and cracks and then hardening into place. You watch the screen, the pattern of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the IS systems are screened against radiation and interference, but these exposed nodes? Peak makes a ripping motion with their hands. Torn apart! Peak points to a thick tangle of threads on the screen. Look here, it looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually all that the points... it's actually that all the nodes within the... Oh, I can't say this right. But it's actually that all the points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings and the flux shook them. The pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back on, hence the tangle. Peak pauses as the node continues to onward. I've got no idea what's happening. Although, Peak muses, it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. They smile sheepishly. But that's a technicality. So what is the flux? We know it's a wave, one with exotic effects, that's all. Peak runs a hand through their hair. The question is not so much what flux is, but what's causing it, where it's coming from. Peak turns away from the screen, meeting your eye. And there's something else. They pause. Have you spoken with the refugees? A little. Peak lowers their voice instinctively. What they're reporting, massive system failures, cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, total data corruption. Peak swallows. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded. But totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, fail-safes and all? Oh, that doesn't make sense. Those kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative spaces that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen, like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea what might be causing this wave, triggering the flux, but I need time to research it. Can I help? Peak shakes their head. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I want to keep this to myself for now. If you need something to do, the flotilla could surely do with a help. From what I heard from Ash, things are tense there. Where is Ash? Peak glances around the bay. Yeah, I must be out. I've been focusing on this, so I can't say I've noticed, although the quiet is nice. They smile. Give me some time, Sleeper. Peak turns back to their console. I'll have some answers soon enough, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave, the dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. You try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. Okay, so we've got, what, 6 cycles till that progresses? Don't think there's anything out there. A 2 is probably not going to do me any good. I mean, it might be worth risking there on a 4. Neutral. Okay, I'm going to be neutral. So let's leave. I guess we go back to bed. I'm going to let the condition go down now without using scrap, because we've got so much stabilizer, it's crazy. I basically don't have to worry about it, I'm sure, till the end of the game. In 40 cycles? My first run and took 50. Okay. So I'm going to go back and check on the bar and that sort of thing, and the various sidereal horizon timers that we've got going. Bar's ready. That needs a bit more time on these two. Let's go check out the bar. Tala comes to you one shift when the bar is empty, tapping you on the shoulder as you clean the bar. It's ready! She's grinning from ear to ear. Can I try? Obviously! She grabs you by the arm before you can ask anything else and drags you into the back room. The smell hits you immediately when you enter, a cocktail of rich fermentation and chemical sharpness. The room is warm and bright now, the newly installed lights making the place look clean whether it is or not. Tala has already pulled up a couple of stools around a metal crate, where 2 glasses with a few fingers of pale girol inside sit waiting. She smiles. I haven't even tried it yet. You can see she's nervous. You both sit at the makeshift table. the slight strangeness of the situation making you both jumpy. Tala hands you a glass. Cheers! Sorry, she says solemnly. Cheers, she says solemnly and knocks the glass back. You do the same. The first sensation is burning, a sharp, nose-clearing blast of alcohol as your frame querying whether you would like to activate safe mode. You gulp the drink back, and it is only then, behind the burn, that you taste the earthy tones of the mushroom. The wood and the soil, left behind like sediment. Barely there. That's strong. Tala nods vigorously. Woof, that was heavy. Maybe needs diluting? Tala swills the Girol in her glass. Oh, that might work. Open it up a bit. Tala grabs a metal bottle from the newly installed work surface and adds a few drops of water into the Girol. Try again? This time the burn is a warming glow, harsh but fading off, and the woodiness less heavy. You taste something floral in among the marshy decay, something fresh and bright that you never expected to find. Both you and Tala meet eyes. It's really good, right? It is. Tala grins with a whole face and that makes you smile too. Tala pours out some more Girol and then adds some more water. The action's already taking on the quality of a ritual. You both drink. Tala tucks her feet up behind her on the stool, folding her legs. She looks down into her glass and swirls the liquid thoughtfully. What's on your mind? Tala looks up at nothing in particular. My father opened this place, you know, she says out of nowhere, a thought suddenly becoming words. It was his attempt at making a life for us, for my family, when we got to the Eye. You were refugees? From Sinza, yeah. It's one of Ember's moons. She takes a drink. I don't remember much. I was only tiny when we came. I was just thinking about something my father told me. When he first set this place up, he wanted to call it the Bantayan, or the Bantayan, but he was afraid it'd scare off the customers, so he kind of translated it, hence the Overlook. And these past few cycles, when I've been in here, I've been thinking that I should rename the place. She looks at you. The Bantayan, what do you think? What does it mean? Dad said he translated it to Overlook, so maybe something like that. Watchtower, maybe? Lookout? Tala picks up her glass. That settles it then. To the Bantayan. You both clink your glasses and drink up. Tala hisses through her teeth. Ugh, still harsh. She laughs and suddenly grabs your shoulder. Oh, Sleeper! I totally forgot! She stumbles to her feet. She lurches over to a corner of the room covered with a plastic sheet and whips it off, like a magician performing a trick. Beneath it is a neat little kitchen. A sink, a work surface and a compact oven with a hob. Your kitchen! She doesn't give you time to respond. You can come make stuff here any time as long as you promise not to raid the mushroom farm. I need those for the Girol. I was thinking too that if things pick up we can start serving proper food at the the Bantayan. She laughs. Do you like it? It's perfect. Tala gives you a hug, then quickly stands back. I'm sorry, I'm so glad you're here. She grins. Me too. As Tala tidies away the glasses, you inspect the kitchen, checking that it all works. It's small and salvaged, but after what you've had to put up with, it feels like a dream come true. Later, when she's done for the day, Tala comes back through to the bar and you share a glass of the good Girol, the one she didn't distill. And this time you talk about nothing in particular, sharing stories about regulars or discussing the best place to eat on the Eye, which, after everything that has happened, feels like a nice change of pace. When it comes time to leave, you promise to cook for Tala and agree to let her know which shifts you'll be working in the coming cycles, and then slip out into the cool of the rotunda. And in this moment you feel, for once, at home. Help a friend distill their future. So we can cook Matsutake caps or Girols now. I could do both. I could do either. We only need one Matsutake, so let's put that in. Oh no, our energy's already full. It was on 1 a minute ago. We get 3 energy for that though, that's pretty cool. We've basically got free food now. We've got the mushrooms. That's pretty cool. So we need... This is another 4, right? Yeah. Okay, we need a bit more time there. So I guess we go over to the flotilla. Sort of at the mercy of the timers a little bit now. Neutral. With a positive one, we should be able to finish this off. I'm hoping this is it. No. Let's try 2. I'd like to hang on to the 5 if I can. There we go. All done. Sol, pragmatic captain.
Someone told me I should be thanking you.
The voice comes from behind you, cutting through the chaos of the crowded, cavernous bay. You freeze.
Don't be afraid now. I've been hunting you, sure, but for all the best reasons.
You turn to see bright eyes set in a rough face, framed in rusted metal. He's the refugee leader.
Sol.
He hands out his hand, the other clamped firmly around a knotted wooden cane. Shake his hand. He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand.
Forgive me, as soon as I saw you, I knew who you were.
Sol put a hand on your shoulder.
I've been told a sleeper was part of that supply run that came in several cycles ago.
He nods.
A very welcome act, and we all thank you for it. Walk with me, sleeper.
Sol sets off through the bay, his partial suit hissing and creaking as it helps carry him through the busy crowds. You notice people making way for you and Sol, standing back and letting you pass. You pass a makeshift kitchen, steaming pots on heating elements, a restless queue collecting meals.
That algae that came through isn't exactly a full meal, but with what we have here, we've been able to make it work.
You see a ladle of greenish stew dished out.
The colour is something, isn't it?
Sol smiles. Sol leads you out of the larger bay into a corridor lined with storage rooms that are now serving as dorms. You see someone filling a metal container from a standpipe, the water gushing out readily. Sol nods to the person as he passes.
Just a little further now.
Sol leads you into a freight elevator and whistles to some unseen operator to start it up. The elevator jerks into life.
If Havenage were expecting an exodus from the flotilla, the Flux event has put a stop to that.
Sol stretches.
Some have crossed to the Eye, but many just to gather salvage or score a hot meal. So the pressure on our supplies is shrinking, but not like I'd hoped. With the Flux reaching all the way out here, people are starting to understand that our journey might not be over.
Sol stares grimly ahead. As Sol talks and you pass through the layers of the ship, you see people on every level, supplies crammed into every available space. The ship itself looks like it is bending under the strain, its hull creaking, its wall panels pulled away for scrap, leaving the raw frames beneath. Suddenly the freight elevator screeches to a halt, and Sol leads you slowly out into a wide room of chairs and terminals, ringed by a mezzanine and with a glass roof above showing the distant hub and the far curve of the Eye beyond. The people at the terminals nod to him as he enters. This is your ship? Sol nods.
That's right, the Pilgrim Seed is mine to care for.
He leads you up to a railed platform at the centre of the room and stops.
She chose me, so to speak, well at least her crew did, and I do my best to serve them.
Sol looks around the bridge of the ship, a pained expression on his face.
I'll admit the responsibility isn't one that suits me, though we rarely get to choose such things.
He glances back at you.
But you, Sleeper, from what I understand, you chose to try to help us here. Is that right?
I did my best to. Sol nods silently.
But I have to ask you, Sleeper, why are you here now?
Sol leans back and you feel his eyes on you, assessing you. The Flux event.
I appreciate the honesty. I had figured as much.
Sol flexes the shoulder that is free of the suit.
Looking at you now, I can see that an event like that, well, it would have had a big impact.
He smiles a half-smile.
I have tens of thousands of people here on the Pilgrim Seed, Sleeper, and there's tens of thousands more out in the flotilla.
He leans against a railing.
A lot of them are looking to me to provide some future for them, some path out of this dead end we've gotten into. And this cycle, this very cycle, the thing we've been running away from, it just caught up with us. So these people are scared, Sleeper, and they're looking for me for reassurance. And then on the same cycle someone tells me they see you on board, a sleeper, the same sleeper they reckon that wanted so strongly to send a ship past the cordon to see us.
Sol scratches at his beard.
So the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for that, for your interest.
He pauses.
But the second thing I wanted to do was find out what you want from us.
Sol's suit hisses and creaks.
I think that's fair, don't you?
Sol takes a deep breath.
So what is it?
What's happening around Ember? Someone at a terminal calls out to Sol and he shouts some orders back. He turns to you.
Apologies.
He smiles that half smile.
I tell you what, Sleeper, let's you and me make a deal. You want information, I understand that, but I have a list of needs longer than the rim of the eye itself.
He grimaces.
So you do some things for me, and then we can talk about what's been happening in this system, and I will answer all your questions and then some. I may be the captain of the Pilgrim Seed, and she is certainly the biggest ship on this flotilla, but I'm not the only captain here. We have ships here from each of the moons. Ember's Hearth, just like us, but plenty more from Ember's Song and even Ember's Step. The moons have been at each other's throats, Sleeper. What with the pressure of the flux, the bad blood from the old days.
Sol leans in.
We aren't exactly all in alignment. What I need is a way to stop these things escalating. For the crews on these ships and their captains to feel happy and comfortable enough to forget old rivalries and past crimes.
He flinches at something.
Those from Ember's Step, well, they've always been proud, but that pride seems to be a barrier to compromise right now. The last set of supplies I sent their way, they refused. Meanwhile, I have a supply shuttle at the docking axis the Ember's Song ships gather at, but they have taken far too many cycles to unload. Maybe if you're heading that way, you can look in on them. I'm no politician, Sleeper, but if I don't...
Sol stops. He leans back and flexes, his suit screeching. He groans a little, and you see the weight of the flotilla sitting on his shoulders, the suit the only thing keeping him vertical beneath all that pressure.
Look, you'll see for yourself if you go. Meet the others, Sleeper. See what they need, keep them aligned.
He speaks through the pain, his voice clipped. Are you okay?
Not really, but as long as this thing holds.
He grimaces.
I hope.
Sol grits his teeth.
You are what you appear to be, Sleeper.
He smiles his half smile despite the pain.
Because I'm not sure I can take any more bad news. Plus, there's plenty to be done here on the Pilgrim Seed, too. If you have a moment to pitch in, there's never enough around here. That's something I've learned the hard way.
Sol settles onto his cane, the pain visibly receding.
All right, I have 1,000 things to attend to now, Sleeper, so you'll have to find your own way out.
And with that, Sol sits at his terminal with slow and careful movements. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life this vessel, and all the vessels of the flotilla hold. New drive. Okay, we're starting to get some more of these going up. I think we've got 2 now, haven't we not? That's right. So on the Pilgrim Seed, we can buy Matsutake. Oh no. We can give them Matsutake. So we kind of got to fill that clock up. Okay. Okay, the Aki, the docking axis. Alright, we'll see what's going on at the Aki. It's a strange sight, given your time spent in the Greenway, to see a greenhouse choked in red dust. It piles up along edges, gathers in curving waves, and is carried by some unseen wind to whirl in front of the glass ceiling. It is a desert in miniature, a captured landscape of iron-rich sediment and unseen life. I don't know who this is going to be. Beautiful, isn't it? The remark comes from another figure standing at the viewing window, so quietly that you hadn't noticed them. Did they just arrive, or were they here before you were? Their cloth-swaddled form reveals little. It looks dead. The figure laughs. It is far from dead. You catch a glimpse of a pale face among the thick material, dark eyes glittering in the red reflected light. Aki. They turn to you as the dust swells. Aki. They smile a tight smile. You are not from the flotilla, am I right? I'm not from anywhere. Everyone is from somewhere, whether they wish to be or not. The red dust glitters in her eyes, whether it is a good place to be from or not. Aki gathers her cloak around her shoulders against the cold. What brings you to the wind's long shadow? Sol sent me. Aki doesn't respond. She looks absent-mindedly at the dust. You're a strange one. Aki raises an eyebrow. I don't know whether to report you or send you back where you came from. She smiles to herself, which is nowhere at all. You glance around the empty corridor, suddenly aware of how quiet it is on the ship. Unlike the other ships you've been on, the flotilla there... Unlike the other ships you've been on the flotilla, there is a silent order to the wind's long shadow, and in this moment it feels unsettling. Where is everyone? Aki waves a hand. Asleep mostly. It is night on Step, and so it is night here. She rubs her shoulders. At least for those of us who can sleep. Step, that's the moon they're from. Stay silent. Aki lets the silence sit, and you hear the wind and dust scratching at the viewing window. You hear a creak as a set of shutters slowly begins to close across the glass ceiling of the greenhouse. As you watch, you feel the dissonance this place has with that word. There is nothing green here. A dust house, perhaps. It takes many systems to preserve the landscape. Aki begins to simulate the wind, cycle the dust, layer the sand and dirt beneath. You watch the dust swirling. Systems that are failing. The flux event, Aki glances at you for a sign of recognition at this term, is eroding our ability to keep this place alive, to keep these traces of Step alive. She smiles to herself. Which is ironic, because when we left Step, the flux had eroded our ability to survive on the moon. Now the situation is reversed. Away from the moon, its ecosystems are as fragile as we were, living upon it. Something catches your eye as the shutters darken the dust house. The winds picking away at the dunes begin to reveal something. A web. A network of thick branching forms, and then they close completely, and you see nothing in the dark. Soft blue lights flicker on in the corridor, uplighting Aki in cold cyan. You have piqued my curiosity, but I'm so tired. Aki shivers. If you do not have a purpose here on the ship, I recommend finding one. Otherwise I'm afraid you'll have to leave. Make yourself useful, and perhaps we will get another chance to talk. She turns. I would like that. With that, Aki pads away along the corridor. You stand for a moment in front of the dark dust house, trying to imagine the network of roots under the sand and dust, and then trying to imagine the moon that once housed them. Okay, I'm going to stay away from the hubs because this episode's getting on for length, so I will come back and concentrate on doing a bit more of this stuff. I do have a 5 and a 2 still, and a reroll. So what shall I use that on? God, I go from having not enough dice to having too many. Okay, let's use them on the Pilgrim Seed then, because there's quite a big clock on here. I mean, we're halfway through. So if I input one of these, what does it do? Oh, okay, it's added 2 to the clock. With a 5, we should be able to add a 3 to the clock. There we go. Let's re-roll the 2. Got a 1. Okay. I mean, alright, we'll give it a chance. Neutral, plus 2 hearts survival. There we go. We've only got 5 more segments there to fill now. That's not bad. We could actually sleep here at base camp. As I said, we're gonna let it go down to about here before I use stabilizer, so we won't do anything else. We're just going to end the cycle, and with it, the episode as well. Let's just see what dice we have when we come back. Hopefully good ones. 2 good ones out of 5. Alright, but we're going to leave it there. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Citizen Sleeper. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm still enjoying it, and we're very much in content now that I've never seen, so that's quite good as well. Bit of a voyage into the unknown for me as well. If you did enjoy it, then please do hit the thumbs up button on the video, subscribe to the channel as well if you've not done so already, and leave a comment. I'm always happy to hear what you guys think, and about the series, the characters, the storylines, my choices. Let me know. As I said, always happy to hear. And in the meantime, I'll hope to see you again next time for more Citizen Sleeper. Bye for now.